What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what really moved in, go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid did go down 1.88% today, 206 the low, 214 the high. So a lot of volatility, even though there wasn't necessarily any macro data points that came out to justify today's push lower. It's just a lot of fear that's been kind of rolled over from the last couple trading days. And in case you don't know, Palantir did get a short report basically saying that it's overdone. So that is now, in my opinion, prompting a lot of institutions to really look at a lot of stocks across the board and their valuations. Of course, Wall Street technically doesn't have the best viewpoint on innovative companies. So I think this is why you're seeing a lot of profit taking. At the same time, you do have a lot of fear about Powell's speech. Ever since Monday, people started to talk about it. HSBC and Bank of America came out, said that they feel Powell might actually allude to no cut for September. Keep in mind, over the last week and a half, you actually had the market price in a 25 basis point cut. And even at the peak, there was a small likelihood, I think it was around 15%, of a 50 basis point cut. So there was a lot of optimism. And since then, things have completely shifted the polar opposite way. So now there is a 19.1% likelihood of no cut. Still, majority is feeling like a 25 is on the table, but clearly this goes to show, and how that all has recently moved in 1 week, that there's a lot of uncertainty. And so unfortunately, that's really affecting the broader market. Specific to Lucid, there hasn't been any news, no SEC filings. So now people are just waiting for the next big catalyst, and that might be the quarterly numbers. But I do feel it's going to be an interesting time because, of course, we're concluding August fairly soon. So September will be the last month in Q3. And this is something I've really stated time and time again, is that end of Q3, going into Q4, Lucid will need to do their next round of dilution. And so essentially, you're going to have back-to-back PRs because Lucid's actually self-aware of this. This is why they did put out that reverse stock split news at the same time as the Uber news, just to kind of lighten it and hopefully have people not really pay attention to the reverse stock split. But as what was mentioned in the last earnings, at the beginning of September, you are going to see that reverse stock split kind of enacted, which is rather unfortunate. But Lucid, being self-aware of that being a negative, they might actually dilute at the same time, kind of do a 2-for-1, pull off the band-aid, get it over and done with. So that might be coming. So I think that's one reason why Lucid has been really going down. Institutions haven't really been buying it, is because there's not really much for catalysts. Some people might disagree with me on that, and that is completely fair. But I always like to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And clearly institutions aren't loading the boat with Lucid for a reason. So if we do look at, for instance, the secondary market, you do see a lot of big transactions, even after hours, a couple of sells, but even throughout the day, most of which was selling. So you aren't really seeing that institutional buy the dip type of scenario. Looking at this right over here at the flow, majority was smaller sells. So algorithmic trading was really enforced today, and you can kind of tell that as well just based on the general barcoding of Lucid. So that has algos written all over it. Aside from all of that though, looking at the Darkpool, you do see a little bit more activity, but still, as you can kind of tell though, there's no real even transactions above 1 million. So as far as shorts and hedge funds, they're kind of sitting on the sidelines. Shorts did increase today, but it must have been a lot of smaller transactions. So by the end of the day, they did increase 4.15 million shares, and that is net. 32.68% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 410.18 million shares overall are being shorted. So shorts are taking advantage of just the broader fear. So if Lucid does have a partnership or something in their back pocket, it would be probably advantageous to kind of put that out, unless again they're doing something strategic. But even looking right over here, you can kind of see ever since the beginning of the morning, shorts hit Lucid very hard. Then they kind of just sat back and let the market do its thing. in the second half of the trading day. Aside from that, looking at the options, you had a lot of activity at the beginning part, but 1.58 million in calls, 857,000 in puts, 52% of all the options being done today were bearish in nature. So big money still anticipating for a little bit more downside. And today the net premium was negative 290,000. So more and more institutions are kind of liquidating, exiting their positions with Lucid, which is rather unfortunate. Aside from all that though, from a bull standpoint, for this week, there's actually nothing. So no real optimism. Next week, it looks like maybe 250 and above is anticipated, but coming from a bull standpoint, I think they're as well just waiting for the next big catalyst. Bears seem to be very consistent about that $2 range, so they feel that $2 or sub $2 is coming. Aside from that though, with it closing at 209, it did close right above this S1. In fact, it did actually, for the most part, bounce off of this 207, so that's going to be a strong support that you'll really want to watch for in the next couple of trading days. Tomorrow we do have flash data alongside Walmart's earnings. So we've seen in the past that combination cause a lot more fear as well. So once again, that might cause some uncertainty. So just watch for 207, because if that does fail to hold, then $1.74 is going to be the next strong support. I'm looking at the 1-day chart on the side note, so very strong support and resistance points. So just watch for that. Aside from all that though, there hasn't been any new analyst ratings. So last one was done almost 2 weeks ago. Fairly bullish though, so $7 buy, but there hasn't been any new actual articles coming out associated to Lucid. Even on social media, there hasn't been all that much coming from Lucid, so they kind of went radio silent, which usually is what happens whenever a stock is just getting absolutely hit quite hard in the short term. Companies just tend to like sit back and not really do damage control all that much. So hopefully Lucid, like I said, has some actual news in their back pocket. But aside from that though, on the actual chart itself, things aren't really looking all that great. And this is something I mentioned in my video yesterday, because if you search, for instance, Lucid on Twitter, you get a lot of individuals just randomly drawing charts saying that this is the bottom. I tend to disagree. As soon as it broke that 200-day moving average, things were kind of poised to really go down. So things haven't really been all that great. It is consistently below the ALMA as well, so it does show that there is going to be more consolidation in the foreseeable future. So this is kind of reminding me of the October kind of push lower. Luckily enough though, the broader market at that stage started to really push higher and kind of brought Lucid up with the ride of it. So things could change very much in the past, as we've seen. But for right now, unless one of those macro events do occur, I feel like there's a little bit more downside to come. And as far as right now, stochastic RSI, it is rather overdone. So that could really stand to benefit if Lucid has a good piece of news. And I know a lot of you will say, hey, why are you spreading so much fear? I'm not here to spread fear. I'm here to give you, analyze the data, give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Unfortunately, I've encountered many times since me covering this stock since 2021, I've encountered a lot of individuals that only want to hear positives, and they will be in my comments saying that I'm spreading fear. But for those of you that actually think that us going down over the last 5 days, 6.7% over the last 1 month, down 28.3%, if you don't think that fear is justified, then you probably shouldn't be investing. But then again, it's all about time horizons. Some people bought in at $20 and they could care less about the stock price. They are investing for 2030. Some people are trying to always time the bottom, and I think a lot of my videos kind of orient towards them. So once again, if you have long-term time horizon, then all of this is just noise. But if you are, like I said, trying to watch the day-to-day, catch the bottom, dollar cost average, then in my opinion, there is going to be more downside that does come. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. Hopefully I'm wrong though. One final thing though, if you are looking for some solid buy signals, pop over to my Patreon and give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Especially even today, despite all the blood, a lot of my day trades were on point. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.